Alright, seam line removal 101. I think I'll turn this section of this work in progress into a slight, how do you say, tutorial, I guess, because it'll ultimately help you guys as well. So, seam lines. If you don't know what a seam line is, very simply put, if you have any part that has two parts that come together, they're gonna have a seam. So you can, some of them, sometimes they're a little bit more pronounced, some of them they're not, but this one is clearly going to have a bit of an issue as far as seeing that seam line. So this one's it's not too bad, honestly. But we are going to want to remove that anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how that works. Now I've gone ahead and already kind of sanded down some of the parts here. Let me just fix this edge up a little bit. This is just a regular nail file with a cuticle thing at the tip. Just, dollar store nail file. I've used this for many years now and it still works really great. So, if you're gonna do seam line, basically what the purpose of doing seam line removal is to make the part look as complete and whole as you can without seeing any of like the modeling lines that you see in the part. So, basically what you would use is you would either use super glue or a form of modeling cement. What I have on hand is I have Tamiya extra thin limonene cement, but I also have just regular cement. So I think I might use this because I don't think I really need this thin one per se. So what you have to understand before you actually even try to do it is if you're going to use cement, you have to understand that cement is not a glue. It is not an adhesive like something like crazy glue or whatever. Cement actually is an agent that actually mildly basically deteriorates the plastic. And what that does is it makes the plastic basically melt. And what you're doing is by letting it melt a little bit and then squishing it together, you're kind of fusing the plastic together in a sense, which will basically make the plastic become one. Instead of two hard parts, it's gonna become soft and brittle, and then it's gonna mix with the other side of the plastic that you're sticking it to. And after that, you're gonna go in and you're gonna clean it up with a form of sanding agent or whatever abrasive that you're gonna use. So let me just kind of go ahead and show you how that works. Try to make sure that you have someplace that's a little bit well ventilated. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the fan later, but it does smell quite strong to be completely honest. What I'm gonna basically need to do is I'm gonna need to stick these two parts in together as well as this down in there. But I think I might just start with just these two parts. Let's just do that first. Let me clean this up a little bit first. Pieces of plastic up in there. Okay. Alright, so you want to make sure that there's no, obviously no dust or anything like that. And you're going to apply, not too much, not too little, just, just a good amount to both sides, okay? So let me kind of zoom this in a little bit more so y'all can see a little bit better. Alright, so with that, you're going to go ahead and just kind of apply, not too much, not too little, just a good amount, right to the edges where you want the plastic to kind of melt and stick to the other side. Okay, got that done. I'm going to let that kind of move a little bit, leave that over, and I'm going to do the same for this side. And it actually starts to work fairly quickly, so you want to kind of move relatively fast. but yeah, that'll do. Alright, so after you've applied it to both ends, we'll pick this part up, you're going to basically squish them together and push as hard as you think is necessary. And I'm going to kind of zoom this in a little bit, get a little closer so you guys can see. And so I'm going to push them together, and if you push, you're going to notice that some of the plastic actually comes out. I don't know if you can see that, but if you push hard enough, the plastic will actually, you can kind of see it melt, and it'll actually come out a little bit. And so by that you're creating a good I guess fusion of the plastic, and you're going to basically just let that cure. Now as far as, I think that's good enough. You can't really tell from the camera I'm looking at now, but you can kind of see that there's a little bit of, like, you know, kind of plastic kind of coming off of the edge. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, right there, just that little bit. That basically tells you that the plastic's melted with each other and kind of spoiling out, so spilling out. And so yeah, so you got a good bond there. And basically what's going to happen is, because it's all one piece, you're going to go in there and you're just going to clean it up with sandpaper, and that's pretty much it. That's the basics of how you know, how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick that in there. Hopefully it won't break the plastic apart or anything like that, but it should hold, I think. So same thing, I'm just going to apply it to the edges, pop that pen tube in there, and hopefully it'll stick. Okay. Apply a little bit to the sides of this tube here, just a little bit. Let that kind of melt away at that a little bit, and then we'll have that plastic going in there. That's relatively straight, I think. But I want to make sure it doesn't move around or get misaligned, because you want that barrel to stay straight. So. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes since I glued it on, and it's I mean, cemented it on, but it's fairly straight. So I think we're okay to kind of move it around a little bit now. But I haven't exactly decided what I want to do with the round drum magazine at the top of this this weapon. And being that this is in fact a cannon, I think the top drum mag has to go, unfortunately. As much as it pains me, I think it's gonna have to go, because it's just entirely way too wide for this. And if I want to have something up there on the corner, on the shoulder, it's definitely not gonna be kosher to kind of fit in between the head and the shoulder armor part. So I think I'm gonna have to cut this off. So off you go. I think a lot of people are gonna be like really, I don't know how to say, like, people are gonna be like, oh no, the Gundam, oh, it hurts, you know. But the show must go on. Take that off. Yeah. I think I can just take this apart, break it up into pieces first, and off you go. Oh. Doesn't have to be pretty, you know. I'm gonna have to add to it and do modifications to it and stuff anyway, so yeah, let's take it off at that seam right there. I think I'm throwing away more of this part than I've actually bought. But it's okay. Okay, we are done removing their piece, and obviously I have to do seam removal on this one as well as clean it up and add some parts, but yeah, that's about it. Alright, so this is basically an update on how far I've gotten on the weapon so far, and as you can see it's already quite long compared to my art knife. It's about 1.5 times the size of my art knife here. But yeah, I've gone ahead and just kind of made it a lot longer just to make it, you know, a little bit beefier. That little hole there is going to be housing the scope. So I just left that off for now. But yeah, the pen tube has actually gone ahead and really nicely set in there pretty straight. I'm gonna have to go through and sand down all this seam line and stuff, but I still have the tip right here that's gonna go on top of there, so that's still a work in progress. But I'm sorry, excuse the mess on my bench right now. It's actually quite messy. I just added this smaller part down here. This is an old, what is it? It's a rifle part that came off of the MG Red Warrior, I believe, and I just kind of had the part lying around and figured this could kind of act as a pretty cool base for me to drill a hole in there and kind of use that as a swivel for mechanism for you know for the swivel mechanism for that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to reinforce it a little bit because it's just attached on this side, so I kind of want to add some plow plate or something on this end. That way it'll be you know, strong on both sides instead of one, because I don't want to have that break off on me later. But I'm realizing that this project is going to be a lot more complicated than I initially anticipated, so I'm just kind of go through this by clips and just kind of update you guys as I go, because that seems to be the only way I can actually get through this. So basically I'm working on the backpack right now, and my idea is to basically use part of this Age 1 backpack because it's got some really nice chunky details where it's got, you know, a lot of venting and stuff to kind of, I guess, show that, you know, there's just all this sort of immense firepower that the Zaku is going to need a lot of extra you know, cooling and venting and stuff like that. So I want to kind of incorporate this into the existing backpack, and I've already hacked off the top half. The reason for that is because I want to use the existing mounts for the energy cables, because I do like the traditional energy cables, so I kind of want to keep that. But I hacked off this top part in hopes of using this mount, this existing mount, so that I could use that for mounting the energy cables. But anyway, so pretty much what I have here so far is I've hacked off the top half of the backpack, and I'm currently in the process of removing this whole back part. That way I can kind of start mounting, or possibly do some modification to this piece as well as this piece to kind of you know, meld into there a little bit nicely, or as nice as I can get it. So hopefully this will be a smooth transition, but ideally it will look something like this. I'm currently in the process of trying to remove this box here so I can have this kind of mount onto there. So Yeah, I'm just kind of cutting away at it. I don't want to use a saw because it just leaves a really big mess. So I'm just kind of, it doesn't have to be pretty back there, so I'm just kind of hacking away at it with my set of nippers here. So yeah, it's really hard getting this piece off. It's a lot of strong plastic and stuff back there, but I'll get to it eventually. Alright, I'm gonna need these two pegs, so I don't want to touch those, but I'm just trying to get in there and just kind of cut out whatever I can. And it's proving to be quite difficult because there's a lot of plastic down in there. I think at this point I could probably saw it off. Alright, let's just saw it off then. Oh my god. Alright, now all that's left is for me to hack away at this with the nippers again. Woo! That was some hard work. Ugh. It's not gonna look pretty now, but you know, I'll get it to look decent later. Okay. Ugh. There's a absolute mess over here, so I'll check back at you after I clean this mess up, okay? Rough test fit. And just clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna have to smooth that down, but whatever. Pretty much what I've got so far is as far as this back part goes, I don't have to really worry about anything showing because all of it's going to be covered by armor parts. But what I wanted to do is I want to use this part because it's got some good thrusters here that I can attach to the back, and it's got a good use of this this here part here, which is going to enable me to attach the energy cable. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this somehow kind of sits flush. That way it'll kind of look really cool with like 4 sets of thrusters and the energy cables going off to the side and whatever. So I'll just line that up real quick. So what I'm gonna have to do is I don't like that gaping hole right in the middle. I don't like that hole right there. So I'm gonna try to modify this upper part so that this can actually sit a little bit lower to close in that gap, and then hopefully that'll do the trick as far as this back part goes. Okay. I'm sorry I couldn't actually show you the process in which I went through to actually get to this point on as far as this backpack goes, but that's basically what it looks like right now. And I gotta say, it's actually looking pretty good. I kind of like the way it fits like that. So let me just kind of give you the lowdown on basically what I did. There was obviously that big black part in the back, and I'd since cut that off, and I needed the inside of the backpack to be a little bit open. So I know it looks really rough and really not up to spec at the moment, but I'm gonna clean it up. Yeah, so I basically cut out the top half of the backpack, and so that's actually gone. And I also cut off the top half of this here cover for the backpack as well. But basically I needed that inner space so that the upper part of this backpack part is going to actually fit inside there. Yeah, I just kind of hacked it off and basically made it fit. So this is just a very, very rough fit, but it's looking pretty swell at the moment. I am actually not really that disappointed, to be completely honest. So anyway, I needed a way for this to actually be independent of this because I want to paint this separately. So what I did was I just took a piece of peg, glued it, and then I filled the whole inside of that hole in there with some super glue. And so it's fairly sturdy right now. And then I just drilled a hole in the back of the Zaku there, and it's actually on there pretty good, to be completely honest. It just kind of fits, and I don't have to worry about it falling off or anything. Yeah. So probably later on, towards like after I want to start getting it prepped for painting and stuff like that, upon final assembly, I'll probably just, you know, slather this whole thing with some super glue, and I'll just have that on there permanently after I finish painting. But so far it's looking pretty clean. I do want to clean up a little bit. I'm still contemplating whether or not I want to keep this cover on or leave it off. I'm not actually sure. But I have some thrusters here as well. I'm thinking maybe I could just keep this off and still get away with a good look. Where'd the other thruster go? Here it is. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Think I should just keep the backpack, the thruster off, or do you think I should keep this cover on there? I'm kind of liking the look of it without the backpack cover. But I don't know. We'll come back to that. Now, as far as the weapon goes, you can see it's actually gotten even longer than before. This is actually the receiver for the bazooka on the Shinanju. Yeah, I actually had this part already painted up and stuff. I felt that this was a pretty cool little mechanism to kind of have. I don't know, it was just pretty sweet looking, I think. So we've got this huge ass long extension on here. I'm still trying to work out the logistics of how I'm gonna mount this thing, but it seems to be getting longer as I go. But I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think that's gonna be it for this current work in progress at the moment, as of right now, because still got a lot of stuff to do. As far as this backpack goes, I wanna get this down there to cover up that midsection, because but again, when you're visualizing, don't look at the color, because obviously it's gonna be matching in one way or another. But I was thinking about either putting that down there or popping that up here. I think up there might actually look better. But I don't know. So many possibilities. Yeah, I actually sort of panicked because I was like, how am I going to get this on there? It doesn't even look that good. But eventually I think I got it to kind of work out. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. So anyway, we'll check back in the next work in progress, and we'll pick it up from there. Bye.